Hello and welcome to this week's episode of GIANT's Healthy Innovators TV. My name is Barry Shrier and I'm your host. These weekly episodes are brought to you by GIANT Health. We are a community of nearly 300,000 people. We serve the healthcare tech innovation ecosystem around the world. And our vision is to improve the health and the well-being of people around the world by supporting and facilitating innovation in healthcare and accelerating the adoption of healthcare technologies. We'd like to thank some of our sponsors, in particular Vodafone Business and our knowledge partner McKinsey. And we have a very exciting new partner, which is MyBlueLable. And we have the CEO of MyBlueLable, Kenn Milton, who's here to join us today. So really looking forward to a conversation. GIANT Health runs an annual event, which this year is on the 6th and 7th of December. Please go to the website, www.giant.health, and learn all about that. We invite all of our listeners from around the world to take a ticket and come meet us and all of the healthcare tech innovators from around the world who are coming to the event. Once again, the website is www.giant.health. Lastly, if you enjoy these videos and if you like these programs that we bring to you, please remember to like on YouTube and to subscribe. That'll help us to help you. So again, we're very excited to introduce you to one of the leading innovators in the world, which relates to healthcare and tech, and an important aspect of that, which is managing the regulatory environment for healthcare devices and services. So today we have Kenn Milton, the CEO of MyBlueLable, with us. Hello, Kenn. How are you?
Hi, Barry. I'm good. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, Kenn, thank you very much. And we're very proud to be having our partnership with MyBlueLable and excited to learn more about it. So to begin with, Kenn, if you can just tell us a little bit about you and your personal background. Whereabouts are you in the world? And tell us a little bit briefly about your career, please.
Yeah, sure. My name is Kenn Milton. I'm having 20 years of experience in the regulatory industry. I've been working with some of the largest corporations in the world, living in Europe, in Switzerland, in Zurich, working for Novo Nordisk. I've been living in Basel, working for Novartis, Philips Medical in the Netherlands. And then, of course, we are from Denmark and a Danish established company. So I have also been working with some of the largest corporations in Denmark and in Sweden. And it's based on that experience that we now built MyBlueLable, and we are located in a city called Hørsholm, a little bit north of Copenhagen.
Excellent. Well, we're really glad to have you joining us today, and we're grateful for your time. So let's begin by talking about the regulatory environment and what are examples of challenges if you're a healthcare tech company and you obviously have to navigate the regulatory environment. What are some examples of challenges companies will be up against?
So obviously now the regulations are changing based on technology efforts being made over the last decades. So in the medtech industry, we're looking into medical device regulations that are giving companies a little bit of a headache because they need to now understand new ways of thinking, new ways of reporting.
Right.
And these are the type of processes and regulations that we make sense of and help innovative products to the market in that way.
Excellent. Is it is your service the same as what has been around in the past? Is it a straightforward consultancy offering companies the usual way of getting compliance, for example?
So that is the traditional way, and consultancy has been the way to introduce and help companies with regulatory compliance. I've been a consultant for nearly 20 years.
Okay.
But what I also noticed as a consultant, I noticed that every company is facing the exact same challenges. It's the same regulations, it's the same standards.
Right.
So I found myself repeating myself so many times that I thought it would be time to make a digital solution, putting all the knowledge and experience from lessons learned from 20 years of experience, hundreds of projects, making sure that people are not reinventing the wheel. supporting with new information all the time. So we know that small mid-sized companies are facing exactly the same challenges as large corporations does. But now we have an innovative to distribute knowledge, but also present it in a nice work breakdown structure, so everybody can learn to understand the regulations.
Nice.
Without having to understand them from a get-go. So we are more like having a solution that will guide you through the regulations and making sure that you're delivering the right content at the right time.
Yes, yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. And it's cool to see how you guys are innovating within the framework of the regulatory environment itself. So what's the difference? How is it an advantage for your customers to be able to engage with the regulatory framework or to gain compliance more quickly? What's the benefit of that?
So we have a saying in MyBlueLable that regulatory compliance is a business advantage. And we believe that because if you're understanding your company processes, if you understand and can document your products in your company, then you have a business advantage. Obviously, today, maybe 80% of regulatory compliance is used for 80% of meaningless administration. So there's a lot of paperwork that needed to be printed, signed, and scanned. And that's just one of the obstacles about regulatory compliance. Of course, we're introducing a digital solution now, but that's just one of many processes that we're enhancing in a holistic way for product approval.
Yes, yeah. So could you elaborate on that? Because this is very interesting, and I think our listeners are going to love to hear more about this. An awful lot of our listeners are themselves healthcare tech founders or senior directors, leaders. And I'm just wondering, number one, is it the case that many of them don't view their obligations within regulatory environments, their compliance obligations? Would it be the case that a lot of them don't really view that as anything other than a administrative requirement? Is it the case that they wouldn't view it as the opportunity to gain competitive advantage?
I think that's the case, and most companies, we actually like to support small and mid-sized companies because these are the companies that provide innovative products to the market.
Nice.
It's also the companies that built from experience, built of education, maybe being an engineer, a healthcare professional, but often companies of smaller sizes don't have the compliance role integrated in the company when they start out.
Okay.
So they start out having a good idea, making a prototype, but not understanding what it actually requires to put it on the market. So yeah, if you want to say it in a fancy way, then you can say that the companies are actually pretty much working blindly with their products because the innovation is the fun part, and often the documentation is the less interesting part when you're doing innovation. Where we are taking the different approach. Of course, we love compliance in MyBlueLable, so that's of course everything that we need to think about. But that's also why we can support the innovative companies in such a great way, because we want to let them understand what are the minimum requirements to get to the market already in the planning phase, so they're not ending up innovating in a direction that is not meaningful for them. And this is also why we believe that companies can get to the market faster, because they know the requirement and they can work towards a straight line to get there.
Yes. No, that is very interesting. So do I understand you correctly? The competitive advantage for a business starts not merely on going through regulatory compliance application processes more efficiently or more quickly by virtue of the services and guidance that you provide them, but actually incorporating the thinking about future compliance requirements in the design and development stages of the products and services that they're creating?
Definitely. And we believe that compliance is such a business advantage. So you don't even have to be a regulatory company or needing to meet regulatory requirements to get benefits from having a quality management system. It should be that easy, removing all the non-value added administration. So you want to do this. You want to have full control of your business. You want to have the visual dashboards. You want to have the communication. And we do believe that visual dashboards and communication is the key to compliance, because today it's kind of like the gray box that nobody wants to talk about. It's the department that slows down product market placement. And nobody likes to be involved with the compliance people because they are dragging the timelines. But we believe that we can change that and make it a business advantage and make it part of the planning. And if we can communicate and visualize it in an easy way, then I think more people in the company not being involved on regulatory compliance on daily basis will learn to contribute and also see the benefits. And one aspect that we need to also consider here is that having a digital solution, we have a library of procedures and templates and so forth.
Nice.
So we can actually help companies establishing and implementing a quality management system in 5 days. And 5 days is, it's crazy to think about, because when we were implementing as consultants QMS systems, it would take 6 months, half a year to a year, maybe longer.
Wow.
And that's on a consultancy salary. And then in the end, the company doesn't know what they're actually getting as a result in the end. We can, in 5 days, give them all the knowledge. We can give them a final result, and they can even have a training plan that can set them off being on the right path from day number 5.
Wow, Kenn, that is absolutely extraordinary. I haven't heard of this type of radical innovation in a long time. So just to be clear, traditionally, if one were to employ consultants to give your business advice and direction and guidance on how to manage your quality processes and how to maintain compliance, that could easily be a 6-month process. And you're offering a service that delivers that in 5 days.
So there are two sides to it, because I'm also expecting to get a lot of challenges out of this interview. So there's two sides to it. One is the process, company processes. There's ISO standards, the regulations that specify what you must have. And that is 80% of those, of that product, you can say. And every company is pretty much reinventing the wheel, writing those 80%, while we're saying, okay, we've written that already one time. Why do each individual company need to write that 80% that looks the same, works the same, it's the same way you need to report? Why do you need to do that for yourself? Why don't you get the help and lessons learned from others and can complete this in 5 days? And companies will say that we are knowledgeable, we engineers, of course we can do that.
Yes.
But my feedback to that is that I have been doing this for 20 years. And I said to myself, I can do this pretty much in a couple of months and it's done with. But 5 years later, I needed to specify a solution. I need to test the solution. I need to write the procedures. So writing the procedures while you're running the plane or driving or flying the plane really puts on the timeline, and people do not expect it. So even if you're planning half a year, you can add that with pi, right? That's the real life factor you need to add to any project plan.
Of course.
But now you have a finished product that you pretty much can install, and you can get all the templates. And then you need to go in and modify the last 20%. But that is also the ones that makes the company work more effective. You now build your QMS on knowledge and an understanding, rather than you're building it from scratch, needing to find information all over the place.
Yes. No, this is absolutely fascinating, and what a refreshing approach to probably quite a staid and traditional aspect of every business. Could you give any examples? Obviously, we don't ask you to name your clients or this type of thing, but could you walk us through an example, a case study of a customer and the issues they had and how you engage with them? We'd love to hear more about how you actually operate directly with customers and this type of thing.
Cool. Yes. So obviously, we like to help small mid-sized companies, and even the government is saying that small mid-sized companies are the foundation of future innovation. So we
Nice.
want also to support that segment and environment. So our clients range from university startups to mid-sized companies that already have products on the market. They possibly 100 or more employees.
Oh,
But our approach is always that we go in and make a pre-assessment, we call it, but it's also a regulatory strategy for market access. So that is one of the things you need to consider when you're doing planning for your medtech startup.
right.
But planning is obviously not something people like. They just want to go directly into it and start developing. So we always take it back a notch and say planning is really important. So let us start understanding your product. Let's understand how that meets in with the regulations, the standards. What is your classification? Is the software, is the hardware, is it invasive and non-invasive? And based on those definitions and specifications, we can define a classification in the regulations. And based on that classification, we can look at the intended use and say, is there any way that we can get this product on the market faster than you would actually do with your original claim? So it might be that and it's really just about wording, one word separate another word from a
Right,
classification difference
right.
that can really postpone your time to market by years if you are using one word next to the other. So that pre-assessment report is something that we do with most of our clients, if not all.
Nice.
And
How does that work?
that all,
Pardon me. I'm so sorry, Ken, for interrupting, but that pre-assessment, is that like questions and answers? Is that you visiting the business? Is that you asking people to submit reports to you? How does that actually occur?
yeah, it doesn't have to be that complex. So we are usually making a kickoff meeting where we let the company talk about their company, talk about their product.
Okay,
So it's really more on a high level description of their products. What is their intended use of this product?
right.
And based on that information, we make it fit into a questionnaire, or it's a classification tree that we have made, but it's really also understanding the rules of the regulations and say, based on what you're telling us now, we can see that this would be your classification. If this classification is one of the higher risk classification, we would go in and then challenge maybe that claim and say, could you claim it in a different way that can allow you to get to the market faster?
Right.
And all companies love to get on the market fast. And it's also there's also a strategy on getting to the market fast and then up classify your product along the way. But we are then presenting knowledge to the company. They will get a report, and that's just from one meeting telling us what they want to do. But then we give them a report. It will pretty much tell them the regulatory compliance pathway. And then, of course, we make a plan on what do you need to do right now
Mhm.
to meet those requirements. And that's the report. They get all the value. And then from that report, they can also go in and say, can MyBlueLable actually do the job? So it's also a way from the clients to go in and assess us and say, is this report value add for us, or did I just waste 1 hour of my time and 100 pounds? I think that's worthwhile making that investigation instead of
Sure.
wasting money on a consultant for 1 or 3 months before they find out it's not the right fit.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
So we make that fit with the companies. Either MyBlueLable can help you or not, but it's a 1 hour meeting and £100 for that report. And we work a lot for that report, but we also believe in the long-term relationship, and we believe in growing with the companies. So we are taking a chance on helping smaller companies for very little money. But obviously, we also know that companies in this industry is going to live for a long time. And
Sure.
if they're successful, we're going to be successful. And I think this is also what we do differently. We are in for the long-term relationship, where as a consultant, you're in making your job for half a year and a year, maybe two. And then either the company doesn't have any money and you leave as a consultant and you don't care. But we care, and we want to help and support also when companies are in the sensitive phase of not having too much liquidity in the early phases.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, this is excellent. So interesting to hear about how it works. And then let's say, for example, you have an established relationship with a customer, a client, and is there a ongoing service which you are also providing to them, or is it quite a discrete package, and then when it's finished, that's it, and that's the end of your relationship with them? How does that work?
No, so based on the pre-assessment report, we give them the journey ahead, and naturally, the reason why we built the solution is to support that journey ahead. So the pre-assessment report is a way that we can establish a partnership with our customers, but naturally our partnership starts really from there on, and say we can actually help you implement this many times faster than any other can do, because we have the vision of helping many instead of a consultant. As a consultant, I probably help about 10, 20 companies over 20 years. And in MyBlueLable, we are currently supporting 121 companies.
Nice.
So we really want to help the many, and we can do that because it's a digital solution. We don't need to spend 1 hour at the time. So we can give them a lot of information. They can soak in that information, and then we can support them in any step they need. But we are really focusing on the value-based compliance. So if we're not bringing value, because we could sit as a consultant full time with any clients and then take 1 hour at the time and full-time employment,
yes,
or consultancy, but we actually rather sit and say, when you need us, let us know, then we can bring you the value, and then we can give you a product out of the expectation, instead of we sitting and also that people go to the coffee and going to lunch and who's paying for this, and we are really focusing on the productive side of the compliance. And if we want to bring the value to the clients,
nice,
because it's only when they get the value, they get the products to the market.
Absolutely, yes. And is healthcare an area that you guys have always been working on? What is your particular interest in, or your involvement in healthcare?
So life science has been the life for me the last 20 years. So
Nice.
that has been a natural establishment of the company. Also, given that regulatory compliance is a must in our industry, so you cannot put your product on the market unless you comply. So it has been a good way to introduce compliance in this way. But we believe that it's much more than this. We believe, as mentioned, that it's a business advantage. So compliance is our platform. It's also where we can demonstrate that we have validated the solution according to life science rules.
Yes.
But then the next steps, because compliance are going to spread, and it's in climate, it's environment, it's
Sure.
in IT security. So all these different processes and procedures are something that we have written already. So why should companies spend time rewriting those from scratch? It's possibly going to be not optimal at the first get-go anyway.
Yep.
But if they can buy a package and they can get the solution, they have the visual dashboards, they have the work breakdown structure, then it's the easiest way to establish and accelerate compliance framework into a company.
Nice. What is the geographic aspect of your business? Are you guys serving customers in particular countries, and do you have plans to expand in those areas?
So we obviously started out in Denmark. So the solution came about when I was living in Switzerland. So it's a famously called Born Global application. So the regulations are currently MDR, which we're talking quite a lot about, but there's also EVDR and a lot of other regulations. But
Yep.
these regulations are from EU, and EU are now the strictest regulations to put your products on the market. But it also means that American companies that need to place products on the European market need to live up to these requirements. If
Yes.
you're coming from abroad in China or India, still need to meet the medtech requirements of Europe. So our solution is really for all companies around the world. And currently, it's a matter of how many resources we have to connect to amount of people. If companies come to us, then we can support them from anywhere in the globe. Our companies currently comes from Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Switzerland, the US. But we're also talking to people in Germany, the Netherlands. So we don't have any limitations to the global rollout. So it's just a matter of anywhere we could help. We're really keen on support.
Nice.
And that's
Excellent.
and
Okay.
this is also
Cool, Ken. What about, for example, the UK and the Brexit situation? Has that caused a lot of challenges for healthcare tech companies that are trading internationally? And have you guys been involved in serving businesses that were serving the UK when it was part of the EU and now have to continue working with the UK outside of the EU?
We have not been so lucky to support any clients in the UK. We would love to. And we do understand the regulations and how it has been evolving, and MDR not applicable in the UK, still running and allowing MDD, and now you're having your own approval in the UK for medical devices.
That's right.
So we understand the regulations, and I think the benefits come in that you as a company doesn't need to understand this fully. If you are an engineer, if you are a healthcare professional, you should really focus on innovative products,
Right.
and then getting help for the regulatory compliance. But the only thing you need to be careful of is that you're doing this in a meaningful way, that you do it accelerated, because the standard way, and I would do the same if I was a medtech company and I didn't have if I didn't get the tools of MyBlueLable, I would wait with compliance, because you don't know if your tool is going to make it or break it. So why would you spend hundreds of thousands of British pounds on regulatory compliance if you don't know if your product is actually going to make it to the market? But if you could do it at a fraction of a cost, at a fraction of the time, much better than anybody else, and it takes you 5 days, then those 5 days is worth invested. And you can then spend your time actually focus on what you need to provide to get market access.
Yes.
And then start planning from that, and avoid making all kind of detours along the way.
Yes, exactly. That's a very, very interesting additional topic, which we haven't covered off earlier in the conversation. The fact that if you're creating new products, there is the obvious risk that they're not going to gain market acceptance. And so that NPD that you're doing, that new product development, in fact, could be reaching a dead end in the future. If you're spending a vast amount of time and resource on regulatory issues and compliance for that product, which comes to nothing, then you're kind of doubling your hardship and your cost and your problem. Whereas with the accelerated compliance and regulatory framework that you guys are serving, it kind of compounds the reduction of risk for that product and the development of that service. I didn't understand that earlier in the conversation, but Kenn, that's a really, really crucial point. It's not just the linear topic. It's not just 6 months to 5 days or X amount of money to whatever, 0.1X investment. It's the actual journey and the risk of the entire product or service that you're developing, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it sounds like you should come work for us in communication. You do it quite well.
Oh dear. Well, give me 5 days to think about that. Not 6 months. But and this has been an incredibly interesting conversation. I've already learned quite a lot, and I found this quite inspiring. Is there anything else you'd like to add regarding the services that you offer, or any messages to our audience who will be listening? And a lot of them will be involved in product development and innovation. A lot of our audience are quite literally, managing directors and senior leaders of healthcare tech companies around the world.
Yeah, so we are, MyBlueLable is a full compliance house. So obviously we like to support and enable this accelerated way to the market, but we also support with questions, regulatory questions and answers. We can write documents, we can approve them, we can do post-market surveillance, all these activities that the companies need to do, but have very little time or knowledge to do.
Yes.
And then in the end, we are of course hoping that we can contribute just a little bit to provide innovative products to the market that can help the lives of millions of patients out there across the globe. If we can have just a little bit of impact on that, then I think we have done good.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm supporting that 100%. Kenn, what is your website and how do people find you?
So you find us on, do you still need to see www.mybluelable.com? And then you can contact us from that form.
Nice.
And then we'll be glad to support you anywhere in the world where you're coming from, but also in any market access. If you have a market access in the US or in EU or in the East, we can support you understanding the regulatory compliance and especially understanding the minimum regulatory compliance about it. And I think that is the important part. So it's not going to be a complete big monster. We're also breaking down the work that needs to be done. So it's really a step-by-step approach.
Nice.
And it's important to be pragmatic about it and not overdo anything about compliance.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, well, look, I wish we had another hour to continue talking about this because it's so interesting. And this is such a detailed but important aspect of business success in the world of healthcare and technology and innovation. But I'm sorry to say we have run out of time. So Kenn, thank you for your time, though. And thank you for the important contribution that you're making in healthcare and the support you're providing to technology innovators. This is fundamental. So on behalf of everybody at GIANT Health, we'd like to thank you for your participation in today's episode.
Thank you for the invite, Barry.
Excellent. So that has been Kenn Milton, who's the CEO of MyBlueLable. And you can find the links to their website and more information about them in the description below the video you're looking at now. Once again, we'd like to thank all of our listeners from around the world. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. That'll help us to help you. We also want to thank our sponsor from today, Kenn and MyBlueLable. If you want to meet them, they'll be at the GIANT Health event, which this year is the 6th and 7th of December in London, England. You can learn more about the GIANT Health event at www.giant.health. Thank you also to our additional sponsors, our knowledge partner, McKinsey & Company and Vodafone Business. We love working with all of our sponsors and partners, and we're grateful for your support. My name is Barry Shrier. This has been this week's episode of GIANT's Healthy Innovators TV. Thank you.